Hello, I'm Tom Bailey, and in today's episode, I'll be getting to know Bethan Vincent, who is a business-to-business marketing consultant with over 10 years experience in technology and the digital sectors. So, Bethan, hello, and a very warm welcome to today's episode.
Hello, thank you so much for having me, Tom.
I really appreciate you being here. And just out of interest for the listeners, whereabouts are you in the world right now?
So I'm based just outside of beautiful historic York, up in north.
Ah, beautiful. Love it. Thank you so much. And I just want to share a little bit more about you before we do get started. So, Bethan was formerly a senior manager in the cloud computing industry and is also the founder of several startups. She's built her career sitting at the intersection between marketing, product, and development. The title for today's episode is How to Build Your Brand Through Speaking, and Bethan will show us how to do that in just 7 minutes. I know, no pressure. Question number one today is, who are your ideal clients?
So I primarily work with technology companies who have a B2B product.
Yeah.
And really where the public speaking fits in is that, building kind of personal brand, building thought leadership is such an important part of connecting with customers, even in the boring B2B space where it's seen as very kind of salesy and very abstract. So it's really about kind of helping people develop a personality in the face of the brand as well, and get in front of their ideal audience on a human level.
Yeah, of course. So with technology and digital sectors being a lot of engineers, developers, IT people, do you find there's a typical challenge that they come across when it comes to speaking?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's this perception of, oh, we're introverts, we can't possibly go and speak to people, and why are they going to be interested in anything we say? So it's about kind of almost relaying it back to them, and you're the most knowledgeable people in this business. Often you do have something really important to say. It's just translating often very technical concepts into, I guess, stuff normal people or non-technical people will understand.
Great. And like you said, they know their subject really well. And I always say that confidence comes from competence. So as long as they know what they're talking about, it's a great opportunity for them to get in and do that. So if they're not speaking, what impact does that typically have on either them or their business?
I think especially at kind of the senior CTO level, they're the leaders, they're the technical leaders of the company, and they can kind of demonstrate a lot of technical competence by sharing that knowledge more widely in the market with other developers, with other engineers. So there's a bit of a trust building exercise. But I also say for more junior employees, going and doing public speaking, getting your ideas out of conferences is a great way of building up your resume and showing potential employers, I contribute to my industry outside of just doing this work. It does make you stand apart, I think, especially when people are looking at CVs and they're like, that person has spoken at that conference. Very good.
Yeah, completely agree. And if anyone's listening to this that thinks they want to start speaking, what's the one piece of advice you'd give them?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think start small is a good piece of
Yeah.
advice. I started out personally going to kind of user groups and very small meetups, and that just helped me kind of build a little bit of confidence before I got to the bigger stages. So I've spoken in front of 1,500 people in the Barbican Centre main stage.
Nice.
Couldn't have done that had I not built up to it gradually. So don't maybe jump in at the deep end. Just try and get a little bit of exposure, even if it's just within your company, organising a mini conference to, internally to have a go at speaking at.
Great advice. And it's just like learning to ride a bike or learning to swim. You don't want to dive in the deep end first, do you?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. And so what is one valuable resource that you might be able to share with people to help them get started?
So there's a really good website platform that's been set up by Ollie Gardner, who is a really good public speaker, called Be the Keynote. And it's a lot of it's free, a lot of really good resources on the kind of bare basics of how to structure a presentation, how to deliver an opening line and an introduction. So that's a really great thing to go and look at. And it's free, which is amazing.
Fantastic. I'll drop that into the show notes so people can click on that. And what about yourself? How can people find you online as well?
So I am at Bethan Vincent on Twitter, Instagram, GitHub, if you want to look at some really bad code. And also bethanvincent.com is my website. I do share bits about kind of some of my experiences public speaking, more on the kind of developer specific stuff. So if that's you, might be a good place to check out.
Great. Thank you so much. I'll drop both of those links into the show notes then so people can click on those and get started. So quick question about you before we move on to the final question. And that is, what would you say is one of your greatest either mistakes or failures? And what did you learn from it?
So when I did do my really big talk in the Barbican Centre, I'd never spoken in front of that as many people before, and I froze. And literally, you can see in part of the video that someone shoves me on stage.
Nice.
And I think what I would have done in retrospect is gone and got a bit familiar with my surroundings, because that was part of like the, oh my God, like what if I don't know where the stairs are? What if I trip up? So if you're doing any level of public speaking, go to the venue, kind of check out, maybe walk the route up the stage, just so you don't have that body freeze and look a little bit silly like I did.
Now, a big lesson that you've learned yourself, and great advice to follow up as well. And the last question from me today is, what is the one question that I should have asked you today that will also give some great value to our audience?
Again, a really good question. And that would be probably from a marketing perspective, how to structure my talk in a good way.
How do you do
And
that?
I always advise people have a very clear takeaway you want people to take away from the talk. Ideally, something you can sum up in one line. So if nothing else, they have learned X. And I generally use a 3-part structure. So I'll have 3 points I want to get across. I'll kind of go through those and then have a conclusion that recaps things. And just giving a little bit of structure stops we've all seen those talks that have kind of meandered a little bit, shall we say. So it just helps the audience understand what they're getting. You can understand what you're doing through the talk as well.
Perfect. Bethan, thank you so much again for your time today and for sharing your expertise with our audience.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.